So there's times in our lives when we get to this time where we just look at life that it maybe hasn't gone the way we wanted to have gone. We haven't gotten to the point where we think we would have gotten to. Who would have thought? You hit your 40s, 50s, and maybe even in your 60s, and you still haven't reached what you wanted to. Maybe you haven't reached the wealth that you're looking for. Maybe you haven't reached the relationship you're looking for. Either way, there's all sorts of things that you can still do. Don't hesitate. Don't stop. Your world is still going. Welcome to Let's Get Real. Today, we're going to be talking about all sorts of things. And my name is Glenda Kroll, and I'm here to share with you points to help you grow and continue to move forward in your life. You're never too old to begin. Hello, Nicole. How are you, my darling?
I'm good, and that was so well said. And you and I both agree. You're never too old. You're never too old for anything. And while I'm still viewing my aspirations, when I look back at my life, I would have never thought I would be sitting here on a podcast. There's things I want to do, but this is a great opportunity for you and I to discuss ways to advance even more than we have already done.
And for me, it's also, through my life, and especially when I hit my 50s, it was a time when I had to recreate I guess I had to go through and check the shopping list again in my own life. And it's about stepping back sometimes. And I was just thinking about this morning as I was walking, because so often we need to step back in our lives and we need to look at where things are, where we're going, what we've been through, and where we need to go and achieve and maybe adjust ourselves a little bit.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And it's so ironic that we're talking about this today, because I just made a decision today that I am going to automate. I am going to I talked to a gal. You're familiar with the OWL app, where we can call experts and talk to them. And I talked to a gal, and she says, well, I'll tell you one thing interesting about me is I have 18 streams of income. And I said, okay, can we talk more? And so that, a chat ensued, and I followed her on TikTok. And there's, never, ever, ever I think in the history of mankind, has there ever been so many ways to make money online, automation, passive income, so many brilliant ways, and Gary Vaynerchuk talks about, utilizing TikTok, Facebook, whatever it is. So there are many ways to make monies, even when you're in your 60s.
So for me, again, as well, I have looked at my life, and for me, I'm going to go sort of back but forward, and I'll explain that to you. I have found that one of my easiest ways, and people don't realize, is real estate for me. Real estate's always made me money. And I have an eye that I can see good things. And so, but I'm going to move myself forward and move myself up by, instead of what I've done before of buying single family dwellings and converting them to duplexes or flips, which is much more difficult now because of the prices of homes. I'm looking at doing multifamily now, and I'm gone back into, working with a coach and now building myself, because you never stop learning. Because what do I want right now? I want to leave a legacy. I want to make sure that as I move forward and get older, and maybe, right now I feel young and vital and I can move and do, but what happens, down the road that I don't, or maybe I want to start easing off a little bit in life, that and travel more, there'll be things, money automatically coming in. I can set myself up now. And most importantly, for my kids. I know that it's getting more and more difficult for young people to get into a home. And as my kids are now beginning to look at that, I want to make their lives, and maybe God willing in the future, a grandchild, for making other my family's lives a little bit easier as well. So for me, it's about real estate. Yes, I do have other forms of income coming in, but it's always leveling up. But the whole idea is it's not quite as difficult as we think it is.
Yeah, very true, very true. And that was my career, was real estate and lending. So I obviously love it too. And there that you just have to watch the trends. You have to watch the cycles. You have to understand interest rates. Right now people think this property is worth this certain amount. And I'm referring to Texas because my niece lives there, and she is a property adjuster. And she was telling me people have them priced like 100,000 over. And she says they don't realize now rates have gone up so much. So you have to be very aware of not just one thing, not just two things, but a lot of things when you're starting this journey.
But there's also the fact is, because these things are happening, there's also more opportunities in the market than you'll ever be aware of. And it's just like I agree with you, but there are opportunities. And you know what? The one thing that you don't need to do is you don't need to buy in your own backyard.
True.
So, you can, our world is a different world now. So to buy in another city, another county, even another, from Canada to the US, crossing borders, anything is possible now. It's so much easier. But it's really the most important thing is to learn. But here's the other thing, and this is what we're going to start to go through today is, we hear this word mindset, and it's overused, but it's people look at it and they turn their heads and go. But it's so important, because how you think and how you feel is what makes your life worth living. Like it's the same thing as you get up with a positive mindset or a negative mindset. Are you looking to enjoy your day, or are you feeling that it's just another day, another maybe a dollar or two coming in? You just never know. So let's talk about 10 things that will move your needle. Maybe those 10 things, from little bites to brilliance. And remember one thing: when we make changes in our lives, they don't have to be huge changes. It's little things that make big shifts. So let's look at, first of all, the number one thing that we're going to look at right now is to audit your inner circle. And everybody says you are a reflection of the 5 people that you hang around with. But let's go even deeper. If those 5 people that you hang around the most with, there's usually 1 or 2 that you're centered around. Are those people, how do they talk? Are they the ones that are positive, bring you up, the brilliance that brings out of you? Do you learn from them? Do they make you happy? Do they deplete you, or do they give you the energy? It's so important that you have to do this audit on yourself. And I don't know about you, Nicole, but there's times in our lives where you're around people, and sometimes it can be your own family, and you find yourself that even after a conversation or that you just feel like you're so exhausted.
Yeah, very true. Very true. And those are your energy vampires. Those are the ones you have to guard yourself with. You have to put, maybe make your field a little bigger so they can't penetrate it. So I get that. I think I'm tired of hearing that phrase, though. That's so overused, because I like a plethora of people. I don't want them all to be the same 5. I like them all to be very diverse. But, for the most part, the people that I've found, they sometimes offer something, but in a different way. And I think if you are a person that brings something to the group, you're gonna draw in people similar to yourself. Not always, but it depends on your, your energy, your vibration, your field. Who are you bringing to you?
No, and I get that. But here's the thing. Let me ask you though. Do you ever have people in your life where you feel depleted?
I have had conversations that make me feel depleted, but I just, for me, if it's something that I'm not comfortable with or I feel it coming on, I politely change the subject. I get to make the decision to go there or not. And
Right.
if someone doesn't like that, I'm not going to apologize. I'm just going to very carefully say, this is not something I wish to discuss.
And I get that. But there is sometimes in our world and in the people around us, and sometimes, like I say, your friends, you can pick your friends, but you can't pick your family. Your
Yeah.
family you're stuck with. And there's unfortunate times when family can put a lot of, maybe you discuss of what you're doing, and your family can start to, put uncertainties into you, make you start to doubt yourself, because they mean well, like I can
Or
remember.
do they?
But well, okay, so I remember when I was a young woman, and when I went to do things, my mother would always sort of shoot down a lot of things. And it was those time of things that I sort of wanted to go with, and sometimes I did, because I'm very strong minded in what I believe, and when I believe I want something, I go for it. But there was times when I said, and I honestly, she created a lot of doubt in me.
Ah,
And that can be, in our worlds, because you know we all have a dream.
hmm
And what we can do is to get that dream and build it into a vision that we can start to create. And I believe when we can envision it and feel it, that we can start bringing it to us. And of course, we got to do the work,
right, 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 right.
right?
Yes,
Nothing comes unless you're going to do the work.
right. And it comes even faster when you start doing the work, because you're showing the universe, this is what I want. I'm doing this.
Right? Because, I know in my own life it has actually happened. I have obtained what I call miracles, but, once you start doing the work, once you believe, things start coming to you, the people start coming to you, and all of a sudden you're looking in and it just happens,
Yeah. It's just like blink.
right? And it's happened to me time and time again. But it's also the fact of knowing that it's what you want, and not you don't necessarily need to know how, but you need to know what you want,
Right.
so that you can move it and stay positive towards it. Because once you start doubting, then you start losing the momentum within yourself.
Yes. And you talk about family, and I pretty much hold the same boundaries for my family. Not in a rude way, not in a mean way, but family is also often our biggest challenge, because we feel like we can't hurt anyone's feelings, or we really can't say what we want. And I hold my boundaries with them as well, to where that's not something I care to talk about right now, or you're just going to have to accept my opinion and your opinion. They're never going to merge, but we're going to go on as family and love each other. So yeah, that family, I have to hold my boundaries with them as well.
And it's okay.
It's
Like
okay.
just what you said, you can put your boundaries up. You don't need to be rude or ignorant or anything like that. You can say and feel what you want to, but sometimes you need sometimes to tell people to back off
Right, right.
in a nice way.
Yeah, time out here. Back the truck up. Okay, it's not working. No, yes, absolutely, absolutely, and that's where all that conditioning came in from childhood. Like for you and I, that kids were quiet unless you spoke to them, and
Yeah.
we don't speak our truth. And I don't have to have everybody know my truth, because it only matters to me.
Yeah. 150%. It only matters to us, but we have
Right.
to realize that that's all that really does matter at the end of the day, of what really makes you feel good inside, and that power within you that
Yes.
you need to live, because you've got one life to live. So why not
Right.
for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So the next thing is solving the bigger problems. So so many times things happen in our lives that knock us down. Hello, I know that one. I've
You have the big story. Yeah.
had a lot of knockdowns in life. But the thing is, and it's like, let's talk about one area. Like, I know so many people that have gone through divorce and they live in the back. What he did to them, him or her, how life was, so difficult, and they regurgitate it all over. It's
Oh,
But if you're going to live in that, instead of learning and sitting back and saying, okay, what did I do in this relationship? Because, that was one of the first things that I did with myself, is figuring out what I did to that I was involved in whatever the situation was. And you've got to
mhm.
look at yourself, because it's about taking responsibility. When you
Exactly.
realize what you did, right? It's important to figure out so that you can move forward. See, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, we all make mistakes. That's part of life. But the real secret to life is, once you've made that mistake, is to learn from it and change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What did I learn? Because there will be an answer for every time that happens. What did I learn? And then, possibly you can reframe it to, it didn't happen to me, it happened for me, because I have changed, I have morphed, I have become better. I'm not going to make that mistake again. I remember it. It wasn't fun. So every little thing that happens is there for a reason.
And it's really important that you look at it, just what you said, for that reason, and stop being. So this is one of my other biggest pet peeves, and I see it with a lot of people, is they stay in the victim mode. Okay, so
Uh,
yeah, right.
yeah. And I hate to say it, but that person can't be in my circle. If you can't see to the other side of the why it happened, how you were involved, and just take it as a lesson and ditch the victim, ditch the martyr, you take my breath away. I can't breathe. Therefore, you cannot be in my circle.
So instead of looking at it again in the negative mode, it happened to me, it happened, they did it to me, they brought me down. Start looking at what it was that had happened, what your bit was in it, and start looking how you can make those adjustments in yourself, and
Yes.
and start to move forward to build yourself. Because if we don't learn to change and grow from things, then life will never happen. The joys, the blossoms, the flowers in our
Right.
lives will never happen.
Yeah. And we do have choices, whether sometimes we don't think we do or not, because my ex silenced me and I didn't use my voice, but I let that happen. I could have stood up for myself. I chose not to. So that's on me. That's on me in that particular incident. But at least I'm willing to see it, recognize it, acknowledge it, and grow from it.
And that's the next point that I want to make. It's on me.
Yeah.
We got to learn to take, what, I've done a lot of scripts through my lives. I've had a lot of knockdowns, but all of those things were on me. They didn't happen to me, they happened for me. From that, boy, did I grow. And that's the whole key, taking on the responsibility and growing and becoming more from it instead of, again, talking about the victimhood.
So important. Yeah.
So the next point we're going to look at is who's steering your ship? Who's in the director's seat? You know, we're sitting there, we're in a chair and it says director. Who's sitting in there?
Yeah. And that's an important question.
Right?
That's an important question. You know, a lot of people don't think about that. And I'm to the point, finally, that my name is on the back of that chair. But it's been a long time coming, Glenda. It's been a long time coming. And it feels good. You know, and I would love other people to feel that also, where you stop the chatter of the others because they can't feel what you feel. They can't have the inner wisdom or the inner knowledge of what you know about your desires, your wants, your needs. And so often the voices, the chatter, and everything just came at me. And it's like, who do I listen to? And, you know, not once did I ever say me. You know, I thought, well, that maybe they've done that or maybe they're smarter, but that was so wrong as I'm looking back. And, you know, as I'm doing it, I'm visually seeing my name on the back of a director's chair. It's a long time coming.
And so many times we listen to the wrong people. We listen to people, you know, why is it the people that are single who talk about relationships, how to have a good relationships? I remember when my kids were little, how the people who didn't even have children were the ones giving me instructions how to be a good parent. Look who's giving you, you know, who is the one who's giving you the advice? Is it the
Right.
person, you know, how many times have you listened or I've heard where people advise me about financial things, yet I look at them and financially, they've never done anything in their life. They've never, you know, bought a property. They've never done investments. They've never done anything. And here they're giving advice.
Yeah.
So look who's giving you advice. Look who you're allowing to steer your ship.
Right. Right. And you know, you can, if there's a sound bite that sounds interesting or kind of piques an interest, it's okay to explore that, but you have to explore it with your inner wisdom, your inner knowledge, not just on the sound bite of someone who is, you know, who are they? How do they know? What are their credentials? What have they ever done? You know, if someone wants to give me advice now, they better have a resume with them.
Well, but you see a lot of things, right? It's the whole idea is being, you know, I have a word that I believe in all the time, and it's being aware, you know,
Yeah.
being aware of you can sort of, you know, who's around and what people do. And, you know, if somebody is giving advice and you really don't know them, okay, you can take it, you can think about it, you can watch it and see, but it's not that you turn around and you do exactly what they say, especially if you don't know them. You
Right.
know, so we need to be aware of who's telling you, who is in the driver's seat now. Are you jumping into something where you talk about different forms of income coming in? Are you, you know, like Nicole and I just mentioned, you know, when people are on, you know, LinkedIn and Facebook and so on, and they friend you, and then automatically they're selling to you, you know?
Immediately.
Yeah. And how many times do you hear people, well, have you ever done Bitcoin? You ever done, you know, all the things? And, you know, I can tell you when, yeah, like I'm going to turn around and give you my money who I don't know you. I don't know you. I don't like you. I don't trust you. And, you know, and you're going to be jumping in. So it's awareness that matters.
Right. Right. And if someone says at the end of the sentence, you'll thank me later, run. Just run. You know,
Yeah, I don't believe that. So, you know, we all go through things, and we all sometimes allow somebody to steer our own ships. But there is a time when you got to say, you know what? This is my rodeo and I'm going to be riding it now. And I am going to, whether, you know what, like, and I have done this before. You know what? Even if I fail, even if I lose money, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to do it. And have that, you know, that courageousness within yourself, because there are answers out there, but the whole thing is you got to ask the questions. You got to look for them. You know, it's you there's so much information out there that you can get it. So it's being, the word is determined, perseverance. Those are the words that are the keys to living a successful life. And what is success? I don't know. Everybody's got their own, meaning to what success is in their life.
Exactly. Exactly. And to me, whatever you deem successful should never be measured next to anyone else. Just stay in your lane with that. Just stay in your lane. And if that's what you wanted and you achieved it, it's enough.
It's true. It's very true. The other thing now is meet the day with love. We all go through times where times are difficult. I went through it last week. I had phone problems all week. I was just ripping myself out because I had no phone for days. Things were happening. But I sort of sit back and I say, okay, the universe is telling me something. Maybe it's time that I just have to pull back. Maybe it's time that, I need to just accept what it is. There's always answers to everything that you can do. But be grateful for whatever it is. When you're finding challenges, the best way to manage is to step back and start looking at the things that you can be grateful for.
True. True. And you can always find something, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your health, whether it's just with your kindness. There's always, if you can't find anything, I'm going to have to say that's on you, because there's a lot out there. You're choosing not to see it.
Yes, and I agree with you, because I've heard people that have said, well, I don't have anything to be grateful for. You know what? The fact that each day comes and you don't even have to think that your heart is still beating, your blood flows through your body, the fact that you can see, all of these things, the fact that, well, for me, it's every morning if I stand up on my own 2 feet. These are factors in our lives that we have to be grateful for. So many
Absolutely.
people, right?
And I see people that, literally at my age can't stand up straight, can't walk or stooped over. And it's like, you know what, I'm grateful I've kept my body moving. Probably not as much as I should, but there's things, even if you can't, you can find a way to do something,
Yeah.
even if it's chair yoga, even if it's, and just the fact, like you said, that your body, that miraculous being, is keeping you alive while you sit, while you sleep. I mean, it's just constantly working for you. That's something to be grateful for.
So it's really when things aren't going your way, the biggest thing is, because when we don't think of things in that respect, in the positive way, we head down, and that's when people have more, depression, anxiety, and all of those things. Stop and take a breath. Take that breath in, hold for a period of four breaths, 4 seconds, and then release it. And you do that a few times. Deep breaths start to change your whole feelings of yourself. move for that few minutes to get yourself moving. Because when we start to move, we start thinking in a different way. But just hold on to something, that there is something that you are grateful for the day that you get to see the sunshine. Or now, as I look out the door and I see the rain coming down, I'm thinking, yay, I don't have to water my plants today.
Yeah, exactly. You can always flip the script on something, and if things, if the turn off your TV, because it's negative and that's influencing you. There's so many things. And, take a step outside, you know, touch the earth, feel the sun, ground yourself into grass. And that is going to change the whole dynamic of how you view things. It truly will, just like the breaths, Glenda.
So here's another thing. Give of yourself to others. When we give of ourselves to others, it's amazing what it does for us. So the more you give, the more you do, whatever small amounts it may be, or large amounts, hopefully, is something. What ends up happening is it's like a boomerang. It comes right back at you. So instead of always worrying of what's in it for me, change the attitude. Think about of what can I do for somebody else? Because you know what, I'm a very big believer of karma. And when people look at it in that negative way, that's what come back to you. But when you go out and you do for others, you're kind to others, you speak well of others, then it comes back to you in that same way. So
Absolutely. Yeah. And don't do it with and have to take a selfie. Don't do it and have to brag about it. If you do something from your heart, that's when it really comes back. And it's just a universal law that whatever you give, you will get. Can be negative or positive, but it will come back to you in the most beautiful ways when you give selflessly from your heart.
absolutely. Another point, be bold. So often people are pulling back in life because they're worried of what the Joneses will say, what everybody is going to say, do, think of them. Stop worrying of what others are going to say and do. The actual fact is most people are too busy in their own lives worrying about themselves that they're not really watching you anyways. But be bold enough to take the actions that you need to take to improve your own life, to improve your own self, your outlook, everything. And when you do that, that boldness is what creates the momentum for something better to be coming to you. It's just as we were just talking about earlier when we were talking about, of real estate, when you looking for deals and doing things. It's the boldness that you take. You do your numbers, you learn. It's when you take that, just make that decision into an action and you start working at it. All of a sudden, it starts to build and it starts to create something. We don't get anything unless we do the work. So it's like we say, there's so much information out there. There's so many coaches and mentors out there that it's not difficult anymore to find out or somebody to lead you if you don't know the way. And you know what? It all starts with also in building yourself and making sure that if you're going to invest, the very first thing that you should invest in is yourself.
True. Very true. And this is the age of information. You can find it anywhere, and I can remember, you probably the same with your kids, but I'd ask my kids, how do you do that? And they're like, Mom, just Google it. Just Google it. Just Google it. So finally, you know what? My kids are gone. I Google, but it's out there if you go looking for it. You might have to read a few things to see how they merge, but you will find someone or something that will help you along the way. It's never been easier. Never.
And the other way is there's so many groups now,
Mhm.
and if you want to get involved and do things and learn things, there's groups to join. You Google, I YouTube it. whatever, but it's really it's not difficult anymore. And here's the thing, and it just reminded me of last week. I went to a VIP dinner and I met David Meltzer again. And the same question all comes is to ask, because people love to help.
Right. Right. And that's so interesting because so many people are afraid, well, what if I'm bothering them? What if they give you the best advice of your life? I'll take that risk.
And you know what? I understand that, because I was one throughout my whole life that I just did everything by myself. The struggle was real. And I had that mindset that I would be bothering people, until somebody once told me that how selfish I was, because I didn't allow somebody else to have some enjoyment and happiness and so forth. I was holding back because I didn't allow them to give to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's how you have to think of it.
It's just kind of a switch there, the way you look at something. Wayne Dyer himself said, the way you look at things change.
Yeah, change the way you look at
things, and the things you look at change. And it's so true. And to add to that also is, you never know what that someone else doesn't, that could possibly change their lives, and you're holding it in. And you can't force it on anybody, but you can certainly speak your truth, and if that resonates with them, they may take it.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping these things are, somebody's is thinking and listening to these things, because it's these little things that can switch us, that can build us, and change our own lives. Focus on the fix. Focus on the solutions instead of the problems in our lives. Stop focusing on what's wrong and start focusing on what's right. Stop worrying about what will happen if that happens. Start looking at the other way. What if it goes well? What if it goes right?
Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
look at the negative things in life, and focus on, how many times have you heard somebody say, well, what if it goes wrong? What if it doesn't work?
Yeah.
Well, what if it does work?
And I've had so many things that haven't turned out the way I wanted them, but I learned from that as well. Okay, that didn't work out like I planned, so I'll do this and this next time. But it doesn't shove me into a grave and say, okay, I'm done, I can't do anything. That too is a everything's a learning process. If you just think of it as schooling, and don't be embarrassed of what you perceive as a failure. It's just a learning process. And you know what? No one thinks about you anyway. No one cares. So get over yourself.
Sure. It's the little things in life that make a change. So many times we have habits, routines, disciplines, and so forth that actually are not good for us. They don't get us to where we want to go. Maybe you have this habit that at a certain time of day you turn the TV on and you're into Netflix. Maybe you start first thing in the morning and you turn on your phone and you're into right away into social media. Those little things can actually hurt us. But what if you adjusted that? What if you started your day, and then instead of opening up your computer, and you started by reading a book, reading a page or two from there's so many fabulous books out there that you could read. Maybe that will start to change the way you think. Maybe if you got up and you started to move instead of just sitting on the couch and starting your day by, again, the computer or so forth. It's little things like that, to get up and maybe go for a walk. That 15-minute walk, 10-minute walk can change your life, can change your attitude. It's the little things. as they say, it's the little hinges that swings the big doors.
I love that. I love that. And, you know, for me, it's something as simple that I like to get up and start my day with a cup of tea and just sit in my silence and see if what comes through. You know, silence is very powerful. And so many people think that we have to chatter all the time, or we have to be on a phone, or we have to be on a computer. And one thing, and I've always lived alone, so I've always liked my solace. But one thing that you know, if you can sit there for 15 minutes, drink your tea, and just listen to you, open your mind, what will come through, and just let organically messages or thoughts come through, you will be amazed at what you're going to learn, what you're going to hear, and what's going to make sense to you, because your higher self is talking to you.
And that's why the silence is so important in ourselves. You know, I've had it so many times when I go for walks. That's kind of a lot of my meditation time. You know, I don't listen to anything in my ears most of the time. And I find that things come to me. There's also the time, and I know happens to many people, is when I'm showering, I get downloads of things come to me. Like all of a sudden I'm thinking about something, you know, how am I going to be doing this? Or where do I need to go? Or who, the most important question is, who do I need to connect with? And right away, you know, it will come to me because I will ask the universe and things come. But it's being quiet and sort of slowing down that chatter.
Mm-hmm. And
And
just take those 15 minutes to surrender yourself to what is out there for you.
there's one word in life that guarantees success. And too many of us don't continue on because we don't do this. Can you guess what that one word is?
I don't know.
We've already mentioned it before. It's called persistence.
Mm-hmm.
Because too many times people stop. I know when Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich is, you know, he's often talked about the person who stopped 3 feet of gold. And or it's not, well, he mentions it in the book, but there's also another book, and it just escapes my mind. And it's what happens to us all is we stop because something didn't happen. We didn't get the wind that we were looking for. We doubted ourselves. We listened to somebody else. And what ends up happening is, you know, we lose ourselves because we think we failed. But the actual reason is why we end up losing is because we don't continuously persist on what we're doing, and reaching out and doing all the things that we've been talking about is the thing that happens to us, where we lose that momentum and we lose the belief in ourselves from that. So persistence, keep on going no matter what.
Yes, I could. That's perfect, because, you know, like you said, that little visual popped into my mind about that man digging for gold, and he was like, "Oh, 2 more shovels, he would have had it." You know, so it's so true, so true.
And number 10, finally, is a big one. And also, I've already mentioned through all of this, it's the who versus the how. I think the biggest thing that I see a lot of people why they're scared to move forward and try things is because they're always afraid of how I'm going to do it. They keep asking the wrong question. Start now if you're watching and you're looking and wanting something in your life and you've never had that thing. Instead of asking yourself the question of how I'm going to do it, I want you to step back And I want you to ask who you need to speak to. Who are the people or the person around that you can reach out to? Because we don't know everything. But the most important thing is connecting with the others that are around there who have done what we're looking to do, who have gotten that thing, that career, that whatever it may be. And as we say, when you reach out and you ask, I will bet that probably close to 90% of people are thrilled to share with you some really golden nuggets of how you can shift yourself and move forward and continue, because the hell comes. And trust me, I've been through it and I've seen it, where I get involved in things I have no clue how.
Yeah.
I always make sure I find the who's.
And you know, like we talked about, there's so much access to people, places, things, and those people, what I've found is people do like to share their knowledge. You know, they went out and researched and they found out how to do it, and someone probably helped them, so they get to carry on that legacy.
And just remember, it's those little things that move us. Life isn't about having to take giant leaps to make it through. It's small adjustments. It's small bits of our minds that we need to change. It's little bits of habits that we need to tweak. And if we start doing that, you know, it's like when you find you want to work out, the worst thing that you can do is go to a gym, and the first time you go to a gym that you go in and you work out for an hour. Been there, I've done that in my younger days. Yeah. The next day, or not even the next day, but 2 days later, you can't even get out of bed. Everything is to be taken in small amounts. Because if you went to the gym and you did 5 minutes or 10 minutes and you felt good about going there and getting there and then left, you would leave feeling good. You would leave feeling inspired. The next day or 2 days later, you're going to be have more desire to come back to do another 10 minutes and build it up. Because if you go there for an hour and then 2 days later you can't move out of bed, you're never going to go back.
Right. And I've done that too.
Yeah.
I've done that too. I can remember the days of jazzercise. You know, 90 minutes, I can do that. I'm young. It's like I couldn't walk for 3 days.
Yeah.
You know, and I did go back, but it took a time for my body to heal and get back in there.
So little adjustments in our lives are the most important things. How to build ourselves one small tweak at a time. Life, as you know, the old saying is Rome wasn't built in a day. Our bodies, our minds, nothing was built overnight. You know, it takes a child 9 months to develop. Otherwise, babies would be popping out every moment, everywhere. You've got to look at that. You know how a child deforms in a belly, in a woman's womb, and it takes 9 months. 9 months of moments and days and minutes and hours and all so forth for that child to come out to become a child. What makes us think that we have to do something and it has to happen immediately?
Mm-hmm. And if it did, would you even be prepared for it?
No.
You wouldn't.
So as you think about your life, and maybe you haven't quite gotten to where you want to be, and you've always envisioned that you wanted more, but you didn't get to what you wanted. Maybe the relationship didn't turn out. Maybe the business didn't turn out. And maybe, you know what? other things didn't work. It all starts with making those little moves, shifting the mindset to believing that you can do it, small steps at a time. Because when we do that, we actually start to teach ourselves the important lessons. It's like the training about moving our lives forward. It all starts with doing small things. And for me, I want to just let you know that any time in my life that I've had to make major changes in my life, it starts with a dream, a desire, and a vision that grows. I want to ask you, do you dream? Because that's all it starts with. Start dreaming. It's important. Nicole, would you like to share with us of what your thoughts are on what we
I would, because this is such an important topic. And, there were times that not all of my stuff started with the dream because I was forced into certain things. So, there was a fight or flight mechanism, but I always knew right from wrong. So, I knew at least the direction I was going in. I didn't know how I was going to get there. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew that I would. And I've always felt that we're so much smarter than we give ourselves credit for. We're so much capable than we give ourselves credit for. We're so much more overall than we give ourselves credit for. And, I thought about something the other day, and I thought, so many things that I was afraid to try. And I thought to myself, that fear is placed there so you can step over it and get to the faith. And the faith will sustain you. They kind of go hand in hand. And I'm so grateful for all the times that I stepped over my fear. And I'm still becoming. There's still some things I do have a vision for. I do have a desire for. And, do I get butterflies in my stomach and think, oh man, are you sure? And it's like, yeah, just take a peek to last year and see where you are now. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that girl. Nothing's stopping me. So just remember how amazing you truly are, and how you can accomplish things if you have that burning desire and that fire in your belly.
Yeah, like there's the one of the most important things that we have to look at in life is the F word. You can either move, it could either be the fear of moving forward or the faith that it will work, and your desire. Our bodies are trained. It's natural that when we fear something, we have, those, like the saber-toothed tigers when we were, our body is to wear out the things that could danger us. But if we can start looking at that, there's a dream that you have, then if you dream it and you start working it, have the faith that it will become. Because nothing comes without work, persistence, and faith. And that's what I have to say for today.
And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining us. Listen, don't forget to love us, comment, tell us, what are you dreaming of? Are you having dreams? I love to read from you to see what is the one thing that may be holding you back. What are your dreams? When we can put our dreams out there, they become real. I want to entice you to start building you, to start fulfilling those dreams. And remember, you're never too old. And if somebody says, what, at your age? Just say, yes, I'm just a woman, and I can keep on going. Thank you for joining us on Let's Get Real, and share this to somebody who needs to see this today. Thank you so much.